contender will be left out of this week's Stevens A-list. Don't worry, I'll tell him where he went wrong. Second hour, first take, now.
When it's times like this, it's more to lead by example. Talk's cheap, right? We've talked a lot and we've talked a bunch and gotten ourselves right to where we are. So in a moment like this, I say hell with the talking, and I'm going to do more. I'm going to work harder. And if you're a young guy looking for somebody to figure it out and how to do it, yeah, look at me and some of these other guys, because that's exactly what we're doing, is putting our head down, focusing, and doubling down on ourselves.
Dak venting a little bit. Ezekiel Elliott expressing himself to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Angry, we're not where we expected ourselves to be. We got to channel that the right way. Come in like we did today. Go to work and trust the process. Go out there and play better football. You had Stephen A. until you said trust the process. The Cowboys have a significant advantage as they are a game up over the Eagles, and they hold that tiebreaker. Of course, Philly and Dallas play Week 16 in Philadelphia. Marcus Spears, my man, in the house. So good to see you. Well, not really in the house, but you know.
Yeah. What's up, family? How y'all living?
How we doing?
What's going on, man?
Not much, brother.
I mean, you couldn't get here, huh? You couldn't get here, huh?
Nah, I couldn't get here. I couldn't get here.
Marcus Spears couldn't get it. So
not due to my own power.
So right after the Dallas Cowboys stink up Thanksgiving, you couldn't get it. And time. You've been around here in blizzards, torrential rains, car trouble, airplane malfunctions, all of this stuff.
I deserve
You get all over the country all year long. But the Dallas Cowboys stink up the joint on Thanksgiving night, and you can't get here.
He's not lying.
Look.
Right.
You got a great point, but if you and Max send me some of those private jet hours, I can get anywhere you want me to be, Stephen.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know I'm not.
I don't know what
you
you're
know
talking
I'm
about.
not scared.
I don't know.
You know I'm not scared.
I think you
Part
are.
of Stephen A's deal is he's not allowed to talk about the private jet, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
He has a non-disclosure.
Exactly.
Marcus, the blizzard was real. And I'm glad you're home safe and you're still here with
All
us
I'm
from
saying
Dallas.
is, listen, this brother's in the South. There's
He's in Dallas,
there's been a whole bunch of blizzards, torrential rain, hurricanes, thunderstorms, tornadoes. He's worked through all that stuff, but couldn't get here when the Dallas Cowboys lost.
You live there.
That's all I'm saying.
You live there.
That's all I'm saying. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay.
Enough of it. You look like you got a little food in your beard. I'm just saying. I'm
my
good.
goodness.
Right.
Haymakers today. All right, Stephen
You need to grow one.
I don't want one.
Yeah, you can't.
I don't got that big head. I don't need the beard.
Yeah.
I'm all
yeah,
right.
okay.
I'm looking good the way I
Let's
was.
not
Call
talk
me when
about,
you 50.
Let's not get
Call
in
me
the
when
hair.
you 50 plus.
Let's not get in the hair.
Guys, are we all done like complimenting ourselves?
Let's go.
Okay, cool. Stephen A., who's the X factor for Dallas down the stretch?
I think it's Ezekiel Elliott. I think that, listen, the Dallas Cowboys were built to run the football. Your offensive line, the money that you invested in them, and the money you invested in Ezekiel Elliott, you give him 12 carries on Thanksgiving night. 8 of those carries came in the first quarter for 56 yards. He was averaging 7 yards a carry in the first quarter. And your $50 million guaranteed man, $90 million man overall as a running back. Former, as Max would say, the former 4th overall pick in the NFL draft. This is the guy you built your offense around. And you give him 4 carries over the next 3 quarters. If that ain't grounds for Jason Garrett's immediate dismissal, I don't know what is. That might be the dumbest thing that I could have possibly fathomed. It doesn't matter how much Dak Prescott throws the football. It does not matter how great Amari Cooper looks, how great Gallup looks, Jason Witten and his reemergence from retirement and beyond. If you cannot run the football effectively as a Dallas Cowboy, you will not win. You will not win when it really, really counts. And to me, the fact that you didn't even attempt to give Ezekiel Elliott the football tells me all I need to know.
But that's really on coach.
Yeah.
You know, like when I think of X Factor, the last guy I think of is Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
Because Ezekiel Elliott, there's no X, there's no unknown there. We know what he is. There are better backs, I believe, in football, but if you want to change it to all-around most consistent back, he's going to give you 4.5 yards a carry. He does everything well, pass protect, like everything. He's just an all-around excellent football player and among the best backs in the NFL, and that's game in and game out, year in and year out. He seems to be in the middle of a Hall of Fame career. I don't think of that as an X factor. I think of Dak Prescott as an X factor because what is Dak? Much as I said earlier in the show, like the proof that Kirk Cousins, deserves some blame after a night like last night, or shows he's not ready for primetime. And one of the pieces of evidence I use is just imagine Kirk Cousins was Russell Wilson. Would you still be saying the Vikings are a tough out, or would you be maybe picking them to win the Super Bowl? It's the same sort of thing with Dak. Who is Dak Prescott? That's your X factor. Some weeks, usually against bad teams, he looks like a great quarterback in his prime. And other weeks you go, you can't rely on Dak Prescott to take you there. He needs a whole lot around him. That, to me, is an X factor.
Max, in any other situation, I would agree with you. But in this particular situation, I'm with Stephen A. Zeke is the X factor because they haven't been using him. That's the point. The point is that they've made Zeke an X factor outside of him being the main catalyst for them having success. It is mind-boggling to me about what the Cowboys are doing. And I get it. Dak is leading the league in passing yards. That's not the formula for the Dallas Cowboys to win. So their X factor is Zeke because they need to go back to that. And we can have all of the conversations we want to have about whether Dak should be paid, if he's played well. Yes, by all measures, Dak has played well. But the Cowboys play well when Zeke Elliott is rolling. Mm-hmm. They are better on defense when they're running the football. They're better on offense when they're running the football. It galvanizes the team. It changes the environment around the Dallas Cowboys when they are having success on the ground. My problem long for this season has been that when you get into these games and you have 0 wins against winning opponents, not one of those games did Zeke Elliott become the focal point of trying to win them. And that's a big issue for Dallas and where they stand right now.
Hey, big fella, if Bill Belichick were playing the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, don't you think his game plan would be to see, can Dak beat me with his arm? Right?
I'm glad you made that point.
Yeah, like in the Super Bowl with the Eagles, I'm bringing up Nick Foles today, but Bill Belichick dared Foles to beat him through the air, stop the run, tempt him, to try and throw the ball. And if you can do it, tip your cap. That's what I mean by Dak is the X factor. Someone's going to dare Dak to beat him. Can he do it?
I have agreed with you about Dak Prescott on a lot of occasions. And I've agreed with you mainly about coaching in the NFL. You don't think people go into the Baltimore Ravens game knowing they're going to run the ball? You don't think people go against the San Francisco 49ers and think that they're not going to run the football? We can make Dak whatever we want to make him because he's shown propensity to have success in all of those areas. But what coaching means is that no matter what you're doing to stop me, I'm going to find a way to get my best player involved. Take the Minnesota Vikings, for instance. Take the Carolina Panthers, for instance. You know damn well people going to stack the box to stop Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. You know what they still do? They still hand the ball off to him and figure out a way to get him in the run game.
Let me get in here quickly because I know we isolated Dak and Zeke, but you just brought up coaching. And Jerry Jones was just on 105.3 at The Fan, and I want to read the quote from him because now he's defending Jason Garrett. It feels like his tune has changed once again. When asked about him, he says he's the guy for the job. He did not say what Garrett has to do to earn an extension, but he did say, in my opinion, Jason Garrett will be coaching in the NFL next year.
In the NFL.
Yeah, just not for the Cowboys. Just not for the Cowboys. Molly, you make a great point. Listen, we have had this conversation about quarterbacks. Stephen A. Max and Molly, you've been sitting there while we're talking about it. Mm-hmm. You do not wait to pay guys you're sold on. It doesn't happen in the NFL. I just watched you guys have the conversation about the Eagles and was losing my mind about this conversation and all of the excuses for Carson Wentz. The Philadelphia Eagles paid Carson Wentz because they were a sure bet that he was the guy that could get them to where they needed to be. If Jason Garrett was going to continue to be the Cowboys coach after this year, he would have an extension. Jerry has not waited on extending Jason Garrett in any other time. This was a prove-it year. The year is a waste because of the situation that they're in. The fortunate part for the Dallas Cowboys right now, and as much as it hurts me to say this, is that the NFC East sucks. That's the only reason
let me say
that
this.
they
One
are
of the worst divisions ever.
surviving.
Let me
and
say
it's
this.
the only reason that Jason Garrett is surviving.
Marcus, let me say this because I got to get something off my chest, and this has nothing to do with anybody that's on the set right now with us. I joke around because I can't stand Cowboy fans, and we all know that. I despise Cowboy fans, but it's all in fun. It's all in fun. I got a lot of respect and love for Jerry Jones, and I had the pleasure